Hey, Steve Magnante here at High-Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts, with something very special, a 1969 Plymouth GTX Convertible, one of only 701 built in 1969, which was a third model year for the GTX, 67, 68, and 69. But again, the Convertible is always the most desirable of the bunch because of its open air fun factor. And of course, the beauty of the GTX is standard 440 Super Commando power, 375 horsepower under the hood. And again, this one has the air grabber hood on it. We can see where the vents at the top of the hood are functional right here. Whereas on a lesser GTX minus the air grabber, you would just have filler plastic bits right here that would block off. And of course 440, the brag tag. If you had a Roadrunner with a 383, it would say 383, but the 440 was the standard engine in the GTX. They called it the GT Exterminator, as in the competition from the Fairlane GT A390, the Pontiac GTO, so GTX was the GT Exterminator, so said the Plymouth advertising copy of the day. And these were very potent cars, 480 foot-pounds of torque, 370 foot-pounds, 275 horsepower, and really fun car on Friday night, Saturday night at the drag strip or out cruising, whichever one. So let's have a quick look at that 440 Super Commando V8 under the hood. And there it is right there with the proper air grabber ductwork feeding the cool air into the open element air filter right there. Now this is a standard 440, it's not been modified. Still has the high upswept exhaust manifolds right here, no header's been added. It's very pure, very unmolested. Cast iron 4-barrel intake, and I believe a small Holley 4-barrel under the, actually an AFB or an AVS carburetor right there, so the original induction system. And this is a numbers matching block and engine to this car, so it's a very, very special car. Power drum brakes all the way around. You might wonder why drum brakes? Well, Plymouth and Dodge were pretty much the leaders in braking amongst all muscle car manufacturers. 11 by 3-inch drums, massive, whereas the Pontiac GTO had a 9.5-inch diameter drum, which is very easy to outdrive. But these are massive, basically police-style brakes on the GTX and the Roadrunner copy, the little brother. The fender tag is here, the original fender tag, not re-stamped. It's the original tag right there. The E86 440 Super Commando 4-barrel present and accounted for, and a big heavy-duty radiator right there with the wide yoke radiator support here. And just a great example of a 1969 GTX Convertible. 701 of these were built back in 1969. Let's go inside and see which transmission we have. Could it be the 4-speed or the automatic? And I see the console. And there it is, the Torque Flight Automatic. And that's not just any, this is the 727 with a high upshift manual, well, not a manual, but a high upshift governor in the Torque Flight, or in the valve body, which allows the engine to rev to about 4,000 RPM before it upshifts to the next gear, first, second, and third. But there it is, right, the Torque Flight. The 4-speed was a possibility, but frankly, for cruising on a summer afternoon, I'd rather have the Torque Flight. It's a little bit easier. 150 mile-an-hour speedometer, standard stuff in the GTX. See it right there. And of course, the simulated wood steering wheel with the simulated, sort of a sporty steering wheel. Very cool. And GTX graphics and the wood grain on the inside. And beautifully presented right here. Beautiful paint. This is an original PP1 red car. It's not been resprayed into another color or from another color. And what we see in the trunk, and beautiful too, you see the die-cast GTX logo right here, which was branding at its best, allowing the person in whatever is behind you to realize he's about to get dusted by a 440 powered GTX. And inside the trunk, let's have a peek and see. It's nice and big. The beauty of these things is there's a lot of room in these things. It's almost like the full-size C-body trunk. The volume was pretty massive, pretty impressive. Let's pop this trunk open and see what we find. And as I do that, look at the standard issue exhaust megaphones or tips right there. That was standard issue on the GTX. And inside the trunk, lots of room, some aftermarket stereo stuff, which is cool. Got to remember, if you want to listen to your music in an open car, it pays to have a really killer sound system, which is what this is. These are subwoofers and amplifiers, and these are things that'll definitely make your hair wiggle at full tilt. But again, nicely presented under the deck lid is body colored as it should be. A correct restoration on this one, 8 3/4 rear axle for sure, 355s or 323s in the back. Good highway gears, compromise of acceleration and cruising capabilities. And again, this deck die-cast piece right here is very hard to find. If it's not pitted, this is a really nice example right here. And a great example of one of 701 built 69 Plymouth GTX convertible. To learn more about this car, go to the High-Octane Classics website and check out the photo gallery.